Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Grab your seat. We have a packed morning. Welcome to the Brand Insider Summit for CPGs. I'm Steve Smith. I'm the Editorial Director of Events here. I've had a fantastic time putting this event together. In fact, one of the most exciting things about doing an event on CPG right now is the level of creativity and problem solving that's going on. And I discovered that in talking to many of you and many of the people who are going to be presenting over the next 3 days. And I think, look, we all know that CPG in many ways saw all this coming, but among all of the different business categories, it was seen as the last bastion that digital disruption was going to reach. It clearly has reached it now. Obviously, the consumer journey has become deeply fragmented and complicated by online sources, by geo-targeted marketing, by mobile apps, by intermediaries of all sorts, including everything from delivery providers now to direct-to-consumer native CPG brands themselves. But of course, that's nothing new for CPGs. You've always had a series of intermediaries that you've had to deal with. This is a new family of them, a new set of challenges, but what's interesting about the digital channel for CPGs is these new opportunities for now being able to get closer to your consumers than you ever had before. In fact, that's, I think, one of the most interesting things about a lot of the presentations we're going to be seeing over the next few days are the creative solutions and the creative ways in which brands are trying to find that direct-to-consumer link. So, for instance, today and tomorrow, we're going to be hearing from both Pepsi and Heinz. They're going to be talking about the ways in which they're building their infrastructure to try to get a set of tools and data that now can reach not only reach their consumers more directly, but in a much more targeted fashion than ever before, move beyond those batch and blast mass marketing campaigns that really typified CPGs for generations, but also personalize in a way that they never have before. We'll talk with one of the higher profile direct-to-consumer brands about what the DTCs know that maybe other marketers don't know. We're going to be talking tomorrow with Georgia Pacific. They're going to be we'll be talking about the ways in which data and targeting is being used, especially in this new generation of retailers who have themselves become publishers, not only Amazon, but of course Walmart, Target, and others. We're going to be hearing from Pilgrim's Chicken on how it's learning how to use Amazon data, but also the Amazon Direct channel to advance its brand. Avocados of Mexico will be talking about what a data-driven CPG digital-first company looks like and how it's building it internally. So we'll be seeing a lot of creative solutions to this challenge and this opportunity of reaching consumers directly. But what's interesting is this is all happening, of course, within a larger environment, a larger challenge that's a branding problem. And that's why it's appropriate to do this within the matrix of our traditional Brand Insider Summit, is that building brand is one of the most challenging things right now in any category, and especially for CPGs. We've all seen the Havas Meaningful Brand Study that shows that for most of us, 77% of our brands could go away tomorrow and we wouldn't care. There's a chilling disconnect between the brands a lot of us think we're building and the ways in which it's really resonating with users, the value that they're bringing to it. And remember, brand, especially CPG brands, have a century-long legacy. This all started, the whole idea of branding consumer product goods started in the late 19th century. It was part of the rise of mass merchandising and mass production. As soon as people started losing touch with their local markets and had that understanding of where products came from, as soon as we started making nationwide distribution systems and advertising systems, branding was the thing that solved for a key problem: trust, quality, safety. That's what brand did. That was the story of branding in the 20th century. And there's a real key question, a large existential question that faces all of us in the 21st century. What does brand solve for now? As things become commoditized, as things like safety and quality now become widely available, what does brand do? What do we try to do with it? One answer that some people think is it provides meaning. But there are a lot of other possibilities. And so I'm really eager to hear from another set of presentations that we're going to be hearing across these next few days about this issue of brand and brand building. We're going to be hearing from companies like Land O'Lakes, like Rust-Oleum, also from Hubble, from Organic Valley, from direct-to-consumer brand Pour Moi, from Jack Link's, about how it's solving for this larger issue of branding and making brands meaningful. But I want to start, as we do with all of our summits, with you. Over the last few days, I've been asking I asked all of the brands coming some general survey questions. We like to start all of these summits with the voice of the brands themselves, to get an idea, to get a sense of what people are thinking and what their attitudes are, because a lot of this is going to go on in discussions among you. I have much more material that I can cover in just the next few minutes. We will be posting all of this online, so you'll be able to get it later. But I asked everybody, what's the most challenging change in the consumer journey for your marketing plan? And of course, we heard a lot about fragmentation, and in fact, we're going to be talking about that today in our first panel, media fragmentation, but how it's harder to choose where to place limited budgets. The most challenging aspect is that there are now so many disparate channels, it's hard to drive relatively efficient awareness. The ways in which we moved away from that broad national TV campaign, fragmentation has also created a tremendous challenge when it comes simply to efficiency and what tactics to use and how you can actually disperse all that effort across so many different channels. Making those decisions is one of the things I think we'll be talking about a lot. This is an interesting one that I've actually been hearing a lot about, but I haven't seen a lot of solutions for, and that's mobile. That as we start moving towards those mobile screens, conversion rates on everything drop incredibly, and I've yet to see a lot of discussion about solving for mobile. Also, discovering on the other end, targeting, discovering the proper audiences to target and which platforms to use, as well as on the back end, attributing the value of all of these investments across the different channels. And of course, ultimately, it's the continued shift of power to the consumer, the ways in which the consumer and that consumer journey itself is fragmenting. People are coming to products in so many different ways, it's simply too difficult to track. I asked also, what new marketing channel you've been using that's proven the most successful for breaking through that brand clutter? And again, it's interesting the diversity of responses to this question. Everything from Instagram and Pinterest, a lot of interest now in out-of-home. Out-of-home for a number of CPGs is sort of replacing print as a great awareness builder. And TV, it can grab people in perhaps a more efficient way than even TV can. But also things like YouTube. Paid search, actually a number of people mentioned search. I thought it was really interesting, the analogy that one of you made of search to shelving in store. Being in the first 3 spots of search would be the equivalent of premium placement on shelf plus feature and display, like an end cap. And if you're not there, you might as well be back in the warehouse. Also, influencers. We're going to be talking about social, especially on day 3 with Rust-Oleum, but also the ways in which social can be used in a lot of different ways. Interesting comment here about affiliates. Again, I'm going to be putting this all online so that you can grab the whole deck later. Social has a lot of different dimensions. Social advocacy programs may not generate the most data, but it is perhaps the best quality because the participants are highly engaged. You can use it for lookalike modeling. And also people engaging in our, I asked here about particularly the question of first-party data. We're going to be taking that up at the top of tomorrow morning, the most successful ways in which people are gathering first-party data. Social is an interesting channel here, and again, I thought that was interesting that social, although it may not have the reach, renders some of the best quality data that can be used for modeling elsewhere. And it's interesting how, with all of the digital channels, there's still a lot of old school marketing that's going on here. Things like members-only sales, trialing, and also couponing, using that as ways to harvest first-party data. And then, of course, I had to ask about Amazon. We're going to be talking about Amazon in particular tomorrow, but whether it's a threat, whether it's a frenemy, whether it's a real partner. And of course, the answers were all over the map because the answer is all over the map with Amazon. It's interesting distinction that one of you made here about how it's showing the greatest growth, but at the least profit among the other retailers. Again, great source of sales growth, but at the same time, it's opening up the path for competitors. And this will be somebody you'd be interested in speaking to who thinks that they've cracked the code on how to deal with Amazon. But also the other thing that we'll be talking about tomorrow is that new retailer as publisher inventory that Amazon also is now becoming such a force in online. This comment I found especially interesting. Amazon advertising is sucking budget away from other channels due to a need for defense rather than confidently profitable growth. That's interesting. But also the ways in which the Amazon DSP really is offering even CPGs a very strong offer. Then finally I asked, what's the most overhyped or disappointing channel or platform you've tried recently? And again, quite a diverse set of responses. Native advertising, hard to declare successful. Shoppable ads, there's been some disappointment there. Walmart Media Group, there's been some dissatisfaction there with the ways in which it's shifted, and especially it's the quality of its customer service. Again, tomorrow we'll be talking about some of the retailers as publishers. Twitter, programmatic, and I don't think this is one of the most interesting things that I saw here that really popped for me is I don't think this answer has changed in the past 10 years. Display advertising, that it's still hard to prove that it works. That's an amazing sentiment to me that I have heard voiced by a number of people over the years. And interestingly, especially among the direct-to-consumer brands, I've heard this most often, that display just doesn't work for them, and they don't understand entirely how it works for anybody else. And finally, a couple of comments about voice search. Voice search, interesting, very promising, but according to most people in the industry, still something that's rudimentary, hard to break through. There's really no way for a brand to get through the clutter of voice. But also at the same time, the habits just aren't there that most of you and most of us who have Alexa know that we check it for weather and time and maybe to play music and a podcast. But as a route towards actually discovering product, still not there yet. Anyway, these are just, I just sort of wanted to seed the conversation because that's really what this event is about, is a conversation. A lot of the content that we put on up here really is the beginning of a conversation that's eventually really comes to life in the roundtables that happen in every morning. So let me give you a couple of little summit rules for those of you who are new. How many of you are new to our summits? Great. You're going to enjoy this. It's a unique format. Everything that we do on stage is on the record. We're live streaming this over MediaPost, so if you have colleagues at home that you want to have tune in, ping them at home. We'll be archiving it. We'll be blogging it. We'll be reporting it. But then at noon, everything comes off stage and goes off the record, and that's